breathe underwater.
Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Listen to me. In this show, I'm going to tell you this story about this employee, right? I'm not going to tell you any titles, names, or anything like that, right? For obvious reasons, okay? But I'm going to tell you about this employee that thought that she was about this life, right? Because I think people really don't understand what it means to be about this life and what it requires to be about this life. And I hope that y'all out there that's listening think that you're about this life. Pay attention to this story of what I'm about to tell you, because it gets grimy and it's going to cost you. Okay, so check this out. She thought she was about this life, so she chose up on this dude, right, that was really grimy. And when I say grimy, he was grimy in every way, shape, or form. His charges reflected it. The way he treated people around him reflected it. But it was something about him that attracted her to him. Who knows what that is these days? You feel what I'm saying? People are attracted to whom they're attracted to. That's just that on that, right? But she was attracted to this dude. And this dude had an outdate that was so far off into the future. You know what I'm saying? I remember when I caught my cases, right? And I got locked up and I'm down at the penitentiary, you know what I'm saying? After I finally got shipped to the penitentiary, there was a lot of old heads that were there at the time that had been locked up for a long time. And they were kicking it one day and they told me, said, Joe T, you ain't gonna get out till they start flying cars. You feel what I'm saying? And when they said it, I felt kind of offended. But then all these years later, I'm sitting here looking like, well, darn, they were right. So this individual that I'm talking about, they might be, I don't even know how to tell you what type of technology will be around when he gets out. You feel what I'm saying? I'm serious. I think we'll be teleporting to different domains, to different galaxies by the time he gets out. You understand what I'm saying? It's that far down the line. Now, this particular employee knew that. This employee knew that because this employee could look and see how much time that we have to do. You feel what I'm saying? And this public record, anybody can look. You understand what I'm saying? So anyway, she knew how much time he had, and she knew the type of charges that he had. You understand what I'm saying? Nasty, violent, man. Use your imagination. You understand what I'm saying? Use your imagination. But it didn't matter. She was attracted to him. But see, what she didn't understand, that this individual's self-esteem was so low that the only type of relationship you're going to have with him is one where he pushes you down in the mud, face down in the mud, and then he's going to put his foot on your neck and he's going to twist it, right? So this is what he did, right? Now, this individual, she had a life outside of this place, a life outside of this place, a family outside of this place with a husband. You understand what I'm saying? A nice career. She was moving up. You understand what I'm saying? But she fell for this sick, twisted dude. And those of us that was observing this thing, we're looking like, what? Wait a minute. What is going on? But in the penitentiary, you're seeing, you don't see. You're hearing, you don't hear. You feel what I'm saying? And you don't say nothing, right? You don't say nothing. But there was a couple of individuals that I know for sure. I know for sure, for fact, that broke that code, and they went and said something to both of these individuals and said, look, stop what you're doing. Stop what you're doing. And they both played and pretended and acted as if nothing was happening. You understand what I'm saying? So long story short on that, they started to create these scenarios that would justify what it is that they were doing. They started to do things to try to make it look like it was something that it wasn't, but it still turned out that they were doing what they were doing. You understand what I'm saying? Use your imagination. So this individual, like I said, this person's self-esteem was so low, so what he did, he had to break her down even further than she was already broken, because there was something broken in her that made her attracted to this brokenness that was in him. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all know what I'm talking about. You probably got some girlfriends like that. You understand what I'm saying? But anyway, what he did was he made her forsake her husband. How did he do that? He got her to do some things that were against her vows. Use your imagination. Breaking all the rules. Use your imagination. Making it seem as though her husband's feelings didn't matter. Use your imagination. You understand what I'm saying? So then when her husband finds out, he gets ghost. He said, I can't take this. And he leaves. Now she's stuck with the kids. You understand what I'm saying? Now she's stuck with the kids. But even the kids were not enough to make her stop. Like I said, something was broken in her that attracted her to the brokenness that was in him. Now listen to what I'm saying now. So they just kept doing what they're doing, even though they got these warnings from different people and at different times, and things weren't looking right, and people were looking at them with a suspicious eye, reckless eyeballing the whole situation. None of that dawned on them because they thought that they had a solid way of moving that nobody was paying attention to, but everybody was paying attention to. It made me think about, it was this girl, excuse me, it was this girl in the town that I grew up in Springfield, right? She was on that crack real bad, right? And she had gotten so small that she was still wearing the same size clothes. You know what I'm saying? She was kind of a big boned girl, but that dope ate her up. You feel me? But she was still wearing the same size clothes. And she coming around with people, and she was thinking that nobody had noticed that she had lost all this weight. Her clothes are hanging up off her, right? But it was obvious to everybody but her that she had a problem. And that's what I'm saying about this situation. It was obvious to everybody around her that she had a problem. The people that would warn her on both sides of the aisle, when I say blue and gray, you know what I'm talking about, those of you that's been listening to my show. They warned her because they cared about her. But she didn't feel it, she didn't hear it, she couldn't stop it. And not even the love of her kids was enough to make her stop. And I'm telling you now, not even the love of her kids made her stop. But because he's so broken, he wasn't satisfied with what she was giving him. She was giving her all, but he needed more. That's what I'm telling you about somebody that's broken. You can't ever feel that void that they have in themselves because they don't even understand why they have that void. You understand what I'm saying? You got to get it fixed before you can enjoy life. He couldn't get it fixed. He was miserable. And he wanted everything that came into contact with him to be miserable as well. That's the only way he felt good. So he made her go against her own kids. Listen to me now. I know a lot of you saying, well, how can you make somebody go against their own kids? It was easy for him. He had been doing it. He was taking money from her that would have otherwise gone to the kids. When the kids needed to do something and she shared these things with him, he said, well, don't worry about that. I need you to go do this. So she did that and she turned away from her kids. Then she turned away from her mother, her father. They tried to tell her something's wrong. Why are you acting like this? And she said, you don't understand. I'm in love with him. So when she told them who he was and what it was that he was in prison for and all these type of things, they was like, hold up, wait a minute. You jeopardizing everything that you've worked for. But she said, y'all don't understand that calling it, that hold that he had on her was so strong because it was something broken in her that attracted her to the brokenness in him. And he manipulated that. So now when she had turned against her husband, her kids, her own parents, finally the day came that she got caught. And let me tell you something. It ain't a pretty thing when a person that's working in one of these facilities get caught messing around, right? Ain't no fraternization. Ain't no solicitation. None of that is allowed. And when they catch you, they walk you out. It's like the walk of shame. You understand what I'm saying? And everybody sees it. They make it a public spectacle because they want to send a message that we're not going to tolerate this. So when she was walking out, she was crying. You could see the tears coming down her face from a distance. She's broken up. She's torn up, right? But at the same time, you can see when she's walking out, you can see that they got him in front of her. They're trying to yell at each other, I love you, I love you. They're saying this back and forth to each other. Even in the midst of all that darkness, she still was holding on to that, right? But what she couldn't see was the smile on his face because they had him in handcuffs in front of her. She couldn't see the smile on his face, the smirk on his face. He was happy that she was being taken out of here in handcuffs. To him, that demonstrated that she loved him, right? But she had to lose everything to do that, right? You understand what I'm saying? So what happened was this. A few months go by, and she writes him a letter. She's not allowed back at the institution anymore. She writes him a letter in a fake name. He gets the letter. It's a number that he needs to put on his list, but they're not allowing him to put in the numbers on his list. So he gets somebody else that he's cool with to let them put the number on his list, and then they allow him to use that pen. So when he gets on that phone, he calls her, and they're talking back and forth. And she said, I'm still with you. I'm about that life. Now, don't forget what I told you. Something was broken in him, and she was attracted to that because something was broken in her. So now his misery it was getting the best of him, right? Because she's not here anymore. He can't touch her. He can't kiss her. He can't abuse her. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's how he got off. And she was attracted to that. So now, in order for him to get off, he has to know that she's being abused. So what does he do? What does he tell her? Use your imagination. Get out there and sell it for me. Go get me some money. Because you got to think about it. She ain't got no job no more. She ain't got no job no more. Her parents are taking care of her kids. She ain't paying her bills regularly. So she need money. And because she says she love him, because she believes he loves her, she gets out there and she sells her body. And when she's out there selling her body, wait a minute, hold up. I didn't tell you. Hold on, let me back up. Put that thing in rewind. He wants to hear it. This is how sick he is. So when she's being with another man and selling her body for him, he wants her to put the phone there so he can hear it. He don't want to hear just the moaning and groaning. He want to hear the pushing and the pushing. You understand what I'm saying? He's a sick dude, but she's attracted to that. She's attracted to that. Like I said, it was something broken in him that she was attracted to because something was broken in her. But she said she was about that life. And as she continued to do those things for him, so he would be happy in here, she was sending him money, a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there. But then one day, guess what happened? She got sick. She got sick, y'all. So she had to go to the doctor. And when she got back from the doctor, she called him. She said, I'm sick. And he said, what's wrong with you? She said, it's bad news. He said, well, tell me, what is it? We in this together, baby. She said, I got HIV. He said, for real? She was like, yeah. Now she's crying and all this and that. And guess what he said to her? He said, what you crying for? I thought you was about this life. Ponder that. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. And I say peace, y'all.
I've been trying to breathe underwater.